If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid.
Concern, Iran may be preparing for retaliation against all of that. Israel has gone on alert, as you say.
It won't be so easy for them to restart. Mr. President, they're not going to be restarting anything. They restart it, they're going to have big problems, bigger than they've ever had before. And you can mark it down. They restart their nuclear program, they will have bigger problems than they have ever had before. Thank you very much, everybody.
America is about to go to war, a war that she wants, a war that she thinks she can control. The stakes are high. Who will rule and who will be ruled? Who deserves to live and who deserves not to live? This is the battle for the planet. The blacks in America are oblivious to reality, oblivious to the threat. The blacks in America are about to be thrown into the fire. Gog and Magog have decided the fate of the blacks. They are tired of carrying them, tired of seeing them, tired of pacifying them. The main target is the original black people, the true inheritors, the true people of the book. As Pharaoh and King Herod were fully aware of the birth of the Messiah and the threat to their kingdoms, so is America equally aware, even more so, as they monitor the writings of Jonah, aka Suleiman, though the blacks ignore them. They know what time it is and what's at stake. They have made their plans and we have made our plans. Total war, like never seen before. Time of unprecedented trouble. There will be no rules, no restraints, no quarter, nor mercy shown to anyone. America, the harlot, Babylon, is going for broke. She has planned to scorch the surface of the earth, make the earth unlivable. Quote, if they can't have it, then no one can, end quote. We have our plans. Farad is about to execute his plan, leading his Shia army against America, Britain, and false Israel to their worst humiliating military defeat in the Middle East, preempting America, Britain, and false Israel, the dragon, Saudi Arabia's plan to attack and destroy Iran. This is imminent. It will come upon America, Britain, and false Israel as a snare. In their last act of desperation, they will send you, their black seed, their black bastards against us. Their plan is to use you to annihilate us, then annihilate you. We are watching. Let's be absolutely clear. The sperm is the seed, not the egg. That fact is both scientific, biblical, Quranic, historical, and logical. Anyone that says different is either a liar, misinformed, ignorant, or just plain stupid. You are what your father is, period. The prophecy, quote, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years, end quote, is addressed to Abraham's seed, not Yaakov's devil's seed. Anyone who tells you that one drop of black blood makes you black is a liar, unless they mean it in generic terms. It might make you black, but does it make you Abraham's seed? Does it make you original? There are two seeds in the world, the original seed and the grafted or devil's seed. You are one or the other. The devil promotes that, quote, one drop of blood rule, end quote, to justify throwing the offspring of his rape by women into the cotton fields. They are their children, their seed, not ours. We don't claim them. We don't own them. We don't want them.
If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid. If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid. If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid. A pathway toward peace and security in our world where sovereign nations can thrive, flourish.
America is being pressured from all sides, all fronts, from every corner of the planet. No Caucasian nation has ever experienced pressure of this magnitude. Tension is the source of their power. Tension is what lifts their wings, unfurls their sails. Pressure from the South, Mexico, immigration, drugs. Pressure from the North, Canada, massive trade imbalances, drugs. Pressure from the West, China, North Korea. Pressure from the East, Russia, Iran, Syria. Pressure from within, blacks, Muslim spiritual, blacks Christian social and political. Quote, the sword within, the sword without, end quote. The pressures, in every case, an existential threat, many of which could spark war. America's crippling debt strikes at her very foundation, which is capitalism. America has resorted to magician tricks to pacify the population. Her so-called booming economy is fueled by ever-increasing debt. America is crumbling before our eyes. Pressure forces reorganization. America has just went through a major political reorganization in response to her overwhelming pressures. Pressure forces the strongest to the surface. A fixer, someone who has the fixes for everything, someone who promises to return America back to when there was no pressure. Quote, make her great again, end quote. A retro look, as the future is dark, so they seek the light of the past. All hope is with and in him. It's a zero-sum game, win or lose, no in between. But America cannot produce anyone who can dispel her ever-increasing pressures. Her very best is not enough.
Votes to choose the 45th President of the United States.
And we have our first projections of the night.
Mr. Donald Trump is the very best America can produce. He knows the problems, the issues. He knows what the people want, but he hasn't the wisdom or strength to prevail against the debilitating pressures. None of America's adversaries are backing down. In fact, they are doing just the opposite. When something is under pressure, it heats up, tempers rise. Depression reigns, generating an ever-increasing need for drugs, intoxicants to relieve the depression, which only makes it, as the pressure and its effects still exist, ever increasing. Mr. Trump cannot bully the pressure away. That which is under pressure pushes back against that which is applying the pressure. Those applying the pressure are also under pressure. The more America pushes back, the more her adversaries adjust, reorganize to meet the pushback pressures of America. They don't desist, they just adjust and continue applying pressure. America takes their responding adjustments as signs of capitulation, but it is not, far from it. America, in her blind, vain hope to dispel the pressure, becomes jubilant, even giddy, at every seemingly weakening of their adversaries. She just can't see that no one is actually backing down, backing up. Their response is in response to America's pushback, but not faltering, just hardening their stance and increasing the pressure. North Korea will not back down once it's all said and done. North Korea will be a greater and stronger adversary. Just like in the Middle East, all of America's efforts to dispel the pressure there has only hardened and increased the pressure. Backfire. The greater the pressure, the greater the temperature, which is the tempers of the people. The greater the collision within the body or containment of the pressure, the greater the conflicts between the people. The collisions are the increasing violent interactions among the people. When the temperature of the nation becomes hot enough, the tempers become hot enough, the nation begins to singe and burn those who are applying the pressure, which means war. War with the purpose of dissipating, dispelling the pressures. At that point, its expansion, which signifies the crushing of the nation's adversaries, or contraction, which signifies the nation being crushed by its adversaries. It's totally mathematics. Do you have the strength to reorganize, to withstand the pressure or not? If not, then crushed. America cannot withstand the ever-increasing pressures. She has been visibly bucking under the pressures since the 60s. Pressure can be reduced by giving of space externally or internally, which means when under pressure, pressure squeezes you, tries to make you smaller. If the pressure applied is enough to reduce you to half your size, then if you voluntarily reduce to half your size, the pressure is neutralized, which means if America pulls back from all her territories and outposts, then the pressure will be somewhat alleviated for a time, a way to buy time. But the analytical mind can't and won't see that. You can also apply the same principle internally. It's like being in an overcrowded room. Everyone is pushing against everyone else, which is pressure. But if you throw half the people out, the pressure is relieved. If America can can contrive a, quote, conventional, end quote, war with China, whose military is nearly the size of the population of America, and if America can convince/force its black population, who are the source of internal pressure, to fight on the battlefields of China where they will be slaughtered, then America is able to abate the ever-increasing pressure on two fronts. She eliminated a great deal of the internal pressure by getting rid of her niggers, at least the reproductive ones, and she reduced the external pressure as she has significantly reduced her size/population. Mr. Trump, with all his bluster, threats, saber rattling, will not curl Kim Jong-un, will not defuse the North Korea situation. Mr. Trump cannot instill fear in North Korea nor in Iran. Iran will be the first to turn up the heat, the pressure. The structure, meaning America's political system, will be the first casualty of the pressure applied by Iran when the SHIA throw America, Britain, and force Israel out of the Middle East. America will find itself being pushed out of every region of the world. Her presence is already being challenged everywhere she is perched. America's reach, America's influence, America's presence in the world, particularly the Middle East, will become increasingly restrained, forcing America's influence and reach constrained to her shorelines where she will meet her fate, surrounded, invaded, destroyed. The political structure of America is in turmoil, and her presence challenged everywhere. There will be a desperate attempt to regain control, which means martial law, which means striking at Russia, who she perceived to be at the source of the increasing pressure. The external pressure increasing, generating greater internal pressure. Social, economic, as well as political pressure intensifying. Blacks will be perceived as the source of the social pressure. Immense spiritual pressure from the NOI. Quote, the INJIL will be preached as a witness throughout America and Britain, and then their end will come, end quote. The NOI will be under new management. Suleiman will destroy the spiritual structure of America with the revealing of the truth of the scriptures. Black Christian America will be in open rebellion. America will attack both the church and the temple. It's at that point that Farah and Suleiman looses their anger on America. Time of unprecedented trouble. The four winds released. Think about this. When they say freedom, what they really mean is, quote, freedom from God, freedom from his laws, freedom from his rule, end quote. Who are they planning against? They are planning against us, the original people. They sure can't plan against something they can't see or touch. Are they after peace? No, they are preparing for battle. Battle against us and battle against our anointed, Farad. Farad has chosen Jerusalem, the Shia. Let's stop and think for a minute. How would America get blacks wholesale to go and put their lives on the line for America? For black Christians, it is not that difficult of an issue. Promise inclusion, jobs, education, homes, acceptance, etc., especially acceptance. But for the NOI, particularly the FOI, how do they get them to buy in? Why would they even care? America would care for the same reason that they cared about the NOI in the 40s when the NOI was even fewer in number They had less influence than now, when they locked away the messenger to silence him, because hundreds of thousands, if not millions of blacks, non-members, would follow the lead of the NOI in such a matter. How do you convince the FOI to fight with and for devils? How do you get the FOI to cooperate with Satan? How do you get the FOI to fight for the country that spilled the blood of their ancestors for over 400 years, treating them less than dogs? First, you would have to stop thinking of devils as devils. They have to become the enemy, as the enemy can become a friend in time of trouble. But devils will always be devils. The Jews can't be Satan anymore. Only the satanic Jews are bad, and other Jews are okay. Remember, the defense of Israel will be one of the objectives of the war. You would have to plant the seed in their minds that America belongs to them. America is their only home, and there is no place for us other than America. If that seed takes, then all the rest is easy. Of course, you would fight to protect your home, your land. The NOI has been turned out by the mouth. America doesn't want a conflict with China. She hasn't forgotten Genghis Khan. None of the Europeans have. They haven't forgotten the whipping from Little Vietnam. America knows that it cannot win a conventional war with China. Every time they have went up against China or a proxy of China, it has ended badly for America and any other European country that has been foolish enough to try. So why is America suddenly pushing so hard against North Korea, who China has openly called their protectorate? Are they suicidal? No, it's suicide that they seek. No, it's not suicide that they seek. It's genocide. The scriptures warns us that Pharaoh intends to kill all the black males, but this Pharaoh, Mr. Trump and company, has decided to take out the black females too. How do you think that Pharaoh would accomplish killing all the males? Firing squads, gas, etc.? No, that scripture never happened. It's prophecy now, and conventional war with China is perfect for what they intend. 200 million man army to kill a third of man. America is getting pressed on all sides, pressured up and downward by China and North Korea. Emergent pressure from the SHIA. The SHIA rise, throwing the capitalist money changers out of the temple, Jerusalem. Russian pressure. America, Britain, Eve, Adam goes to war with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all of which are exerting unrelenting, overwhelming pressure on Gog and Magog. Black males, black females are being drafted in large numbers to fight in America's contrived war with China and Russia to fulfill America's plan of mass genocide of blacks by war. Black pressure. America, Britain attacks their resistant blacks, Christians, and Muslims. The Muslims are exerting extreme spiritual pressure on America, revealing the truth of the Gospels. The Christian blacks, awakened by Suleiman, are exerting extreme social pressures, riots, insurrection, protests to America's genocide scheme. Pressure within/without. America and Britain are completely surrounded by pressure. social, economic, military force, spiritual, political, weather. They are in utter desperation and in the process of being crushed. The spoken word is pressure, pressure waves. The spoken word is the most powerful force in the universe. Our brains are pressure vessels which contain thought. Thought is pressure. Thought is force. Thought force is linear and pressure is spatial, but both are one and the same. If the force of pressure heard is greater than the pressure or thoughts/pressure of the hearer, then a reaction will occur. Either the hearer's thoughts/pressure will be increased or the hearer will be forced to flee from the pressure, which is manifest in their rejection and or hostility what was heard. Truth is more powerful than lies or falsehood, as truth is strengthened by time, while lies and falsehood are diminished and destroyed by time. Prophecy is the most powerful form of pressure, as it goes off like an atomic bomb once the fuse is lit, meaning the prophecy has blossomed, the prophecy is realized. The scriptures are atoms, A-T-T-O-M, bombs, waiting to be triggered, split. An atom is like an atom, highly compressed energy. An atom is a book loaded/packed with highly compressed energy, which is prophetic allegorical language. The Quran is an atom that was split by Gabriel and managed by Muhammad. The angel is the ultimate atom, who can only be and is being split by Suleiman. The angel is the only atom that's powerful enough to destroy the devil. The Quran didn't, but the angel will. Quote, I have created some of my servants whom no one can destroy but myself. Hadith. Thought is pressure. It requires force to move any and everything. Nothing can move or be animated except with or by force. It's impossible otherwise. Pressure is force spread out over a surface or a voluminous space. It requires force to move or animate your body, so thought must be force. Thought is saturated throughout a voluminous brain, so thought must be pressure. You express your thoughts through words, which are pressure waves. You hear others' words, which are pressure waves, through their ears, which detect sound, pressure waves through ear drums, which are pressure membranes, and converts them back to thought or memory. Memory, like the written word, is stored pressure, stored energy. Energy is pressure. The brain was created under extreme pressure, the total pressure of a fully contracted universe. So the pressure of the brain is equal to the total pressure of the universe, which means that the brain can understand the entire universe as understanding is thought and thought is pressure. Temperature is a property of pressure. It is the measure of how fast atoms are moving. The entire pressure of the universe causes the atoms at the center of the universe, the core of the earth, to achieve temperatures averaging 24 billion miles per second, the speed of thought, consciousness. The caving, were not made under pressure. They were made in haste under tension, which is contrary to pressure. So they are a contrary people who are cancerous to us. We must learn to return to spatial thinking. Right now, our analytical enemies are running circles around us when we should be spinning them around our fingers. We are being deceived from bed to post, from sun up to sunset, because we refuse to open our eyes and use the power of brains that is our inheritance. When they say, quote, you can't see the forest for the trees, end quote, that's an expression comparing the analytical mind to the spatial mind. The spatial mind looks and sees a forest. The analytical mind has to count every tree to determine that and be convinced that it is a forest. Logic. All logic is based on a premise. If your premise is linear, then your logic is analytical, meaning it's sharp but flawed. If your premise is luminous, then your logic is spatial, meaning comprehensive. The analytical mind unbound is destructive to the earth. It's their analytical thinking that's the problem. Their inability to see the ecosystem in a comprehensive way, so they tinker with it, this and that, like pickup sticks. They pull the wrong stick and everything begins to unravel. The ecosystem, which they can understand, is holistic. Holistic thinking is spatial thinking. The analytical mind is the mind that dominates Western medicine. If there is a problem, quote, cut it out, end quote, surgery, while the holistic practitioner will look to discover the underlying problem and treat it. The same analytical thinking is loose on the ecosystem. If there is a problem, eliminate it, kill it, as with insecticides, oblivious to the impact that decision has on the comprehensive ecosystem. If someone is in your way, whack them, not understanding that life is more like whack-a-mole than whack-em. The balance states that there is no net solution to a problem by whacking it. All you do is transform it into something else that you might not see. At least you may be able to observe the problem that you are distracted by. An enemy that you can observe is far less dangerous than the one you can't see. Thus, quote, keep your friends close, but your friends closer, end quote. The devils cannot be allowed to be the caretakers of the environment, the ecosystem. They have proven their inability to manage and or understand it. Global warming, the effects clearly visible, but there are money concerns which cloud even dismiss any reasonable action, assuming that they even knew what action to take. Their entire economy, their capitalist system is based on exploiting, raping, and destruction of the ecosystem. They celebrate their ingenuity as if they were the first to achieve all these technical wonders they marvel at. Quote, those whose efforts goes astray in this world's life, and they think they are making good manufacturers, end quote. What they are doing is poisoning the earth. There are nations much greater and much more advanced than them, Yet they didn't dare to corrupt the ecosystem, the environment. They didn't develop the devil's technologies because they knew the cost. Quote, have they not traveled in the earth and seen what was the end of those before them? They were stronger than these in prowess and dug up the earth and built on it more than these have built, end quote. Who would pollute their home where their family, their children have to live, breathe, and eat? Answer, Caucasians. They destroy that which they cannot produce or reproduce. No, they can't be the caretakers, nor the wardens of the planet. The planet was founded on spatial principles and requires a spatial mind to mind it. There are two distinct modes of thinking, spatial and analytical. Analytical thinking is linear, one-dimensional. Spatial thinking is voluminous, three-dimensional. The two modes complement each other. The spatial is the dominant mode, while the analytical is the subordinate mode. The Caucasians are analytical thinkers. The original people in the Americas are spatial thinkers by nature, but analytical through ignorance. Dr. Yakub process subordinated the spatial brain capacity of his creation. Dr. Shabazz process encouraged the spatial while discouraging the analytical capacity of his creation. The result of both processes separated was once balanced in one being called the jinn into two distinct beings. As a consequence, you have two beings who shine brighter in their particular modes of thinking than their predecessors who were ambidextrous, if you will, in their thinking. But for the result to be viable, the two have to cooperate. That's the controversy. The jinn are opposed to the process as they become less relevant. The analytical are rebellious by nature as analytical thinking is lean of consequence. You need to see the entire picture before you can assess consequence. Their lack of the creation of consequence makes the analytical mind deadly and more forceful as they don't waste time considering the impact of their actions. They are very focused, the mindset you would desire in an infantryman but not in a general. The analytical mind is preoccupied with force, while the spatial mind is preoccupied with pressure. The analytical mind is vulnerable to pressure. Pressure surrounds you and pushes you from every direction. The analytical mind is used to fighting one issue at a time, the one in front of them. When confronted with pressure, the analytical mind becomes confused, frustrated, depressed. The original people have been taught by their 400-year oppressors to think, if they are allowed to think at all, as they, the cavies, think, analytically, which is like teaching a right-handed person to favor their left side. You weaken them. They will never be as strong and agile as naturally left-handed people. They will begin to think of themselves as inferior. The messenger stated that the Son of Man will give us a new way of thinking. To think a new way, you must have the inherent ability to think that new way. What he is saying is that we will be taught to think our correct and natural way, which is spatial. The basis of spatial thinking is pressure. The basis of analytical thinking is force. When you think spatially, you see reality in its fullness, not some skewed version that the analytical mind sees. You see and understand a lot in its fullness. as law is mathematical, as Islam is mathematics. You become the be in be and it is, while the analytical mind is the it is. The spatial is the creative side, the analytical is the technical side. Without the be, there is no it is. As stated, the two have to cooperate, have to be married in one happy, complementary union. Every creative event has its afterbirth or fallout, waste products. In this case, they are the extremely analytical, symbolized by the Dajjal, blind in their spatial eye, while brilliant in their analytical eye, who cannot be tamed, has no interest in any mutual cooperation with the spatial. They think of themselves as totally independent or autonomous. They think they are gods. Then the extremely spatial, who are the opposite extremes, opposite of the spectrum, opposite side of the spectrum. They think they have control of nothing. They have untethered faith. They think some mystery God is going to take care of them, etc., etc. These are the black Christians. Both has to be removed, disposed of. The SHIA are the true product of the process of the analytical side. They are the technicians. The original black Muslims in America and Britain are the true products of the process of Dr. Shabazz. They are the creators. They are the bride of the original nation, the Lamb. The Lamb and the original nation are the bridegroom. The spatial thinkers are not deceived by the brilliance, power, and analytical power of the Dajjal, the dragon, Gog, and Magog. They are not dismayed or frightened by Gog and Magog's instruments of force, their vaunted military, their awesome destructive power. No more dismayed than being caught in a powerful snowstorm, laying down 5 feet of snow on the first day of spring that will be history in a week. Dismiss and disregard all those who encourage you to think analytically. Those that insist that you adopt or continue with that thinking mode are your enemy, intentional or not. They are analytical thinkers. They want to weaken you, bring you down to their level. Not to say analytical thinking is bad. No, it is not. No more than using your left hand is bad, except if you are right-handed, then you are just handicapping yourself, weakening yourself. Analytical thinking is bad for you. You are a spatial thinker. Leave the analytical thinking to those who are formed for that purpose, the SHIA. You are the be, they are the it is. Mr. Farrakhan, who encourages that you learn to think analytically, is himself an analytical thinker. You are not. The KB way of thinking is inferior. It's destructive because it lacks appreciation of consequence, which is why they are so prodigious in their evil. The spatial mind has a wholesome, healthy appreciation of consequence and is sure-footed in their dealings, activity, and all their ways. We must understand that everything is mathematics, and as such, everything balances. Everything has consequence. That's the point, in essence, of the quote, equal sign, quote. Once you understand that, then you will realize that patience is golden as opposed to quick, blind action. It's difficult to deceive a spatial thinker, yet it seems that it is. For instance, if you know that no matter what happens, you are guaranteed that there will be 10,000 in your account, then you might not care if someone steals 200 from you. From their point of view, you are a fool, an easy mark. But from your point of view, why risk physical harm deterring them when you know that the money will be replaced? That's the nature of the, quote, balance, end quote. The balance is a term and concept found in the Quran that few, if any, know or understand. Each of us has an equal amount of energy, exactly equal, no exceptions, if you are alive. The difference is how we utilize that energy. We each have internal and external requirements. Some have greater internal needs than others, which leave less energy for external use. That is the balance. It is the mathematical concept that was the basis of Yakub's wisdom. Make a being with relatively low internal energy requirements, give them greater external energy, energy enough to rule those with high internal energy requirements. When you really understand the balance, you won't be going about trying to make the impossible happen. If the balance is 100, then 50 plus 50 equals 100. 25 plus 75 equals 100. 75 plus 25 equals 100. 10 plus 90 equals 100. The left side is internal and the right side is external. So if you are in 75 internally, then you have 25 for external use. So if you go about trying to make that extra buck, then you are just readjusting the equation. You are just taking from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. You are just changing 25 plus 75 equal 100 to 15 plus 85 equal 100. The devils have us running around in circles trying to change our condition. We have been at it for 400 years, and what? There was not a change until after the so-called civil rights or civil war, and another during the 60s. We say that it was because we were slaves and mentally dead, but what about Africa? They weren't enslaved, but their reality with the colonists wasn't much better than ours. What about the fact that the whites are the most powerful, followed by the yellow China, followed by the brown India, followed by the black Africa, and dead last is the best, the original nation in America? Think that's a coincidence? No, it's the balance. And it's no coincidence that the scriptures have all of them being rolled up and snuffed out in the reverse order. The last America goes first, then Europe, then China, then India. Africa leaving us on top. The bottom will be on the top on the bottom. Most who pray, if they indeed do pray in ignorance. Prayer is just a shadow of what was our ability to tune in, which we will again be capable of in a few days, because the balance is moving again in our favor. Your prayers will get answered. The question is, should you? Should you pray except in an emergency? There is no mystery God that can or will answer your prayers. The original man is God, and it is the original nation who hears and answers prayer. Because you are not able to direct your prayer to any specific person, and there is no person who is able to consciously hear your prayers go into the atmosphere, into the cloud, to be heard subconsciously by every member of the original nation. Someone or someone's who responds subconsciously to bring about the conditions that will give sustenance to your prayers. But the answer may cause more harm than good, because there is no prayer that will overcome the balance. You pray for 10,000, you will get it. But all you are doing is readjusting the equation. Now that you have the 10,000, you better look around and maybe duck, because there will be a 10,000 withdrawal from some other aspect of your life. Sickness, loss of loved one, accident, doctor bill, legal bill, etc., etc. The only thing you did was change the equation. You still don't have any more energy than before. Just the character of it has changed. Instead of 25 plus 75 equal 100, you change it to 5 plus 95 equal 100. That's all you accomplished. I'm sure you have noticed that phenomenon in your life. Some call it one step forward, two steps back. The idea of blessings is a trick used by the deceivers to get your wealth, your corporation. The idea of giving and getting tenfold in return is another trick. Those are valid concepts, just don't mean what you have been told. Think about it. If you give Farrakhan $1,000 expecting to get $10,000 back, then why not give him everything you have if you really believe you will get 10 times back? Further, if I was sure I would get tenfold back, I would just keep giving, turning 1,000 into 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 into a million, a million into 10 million. In fact, if Farrakhan really believed that, then why doesn't he do it himself? Surely the, quote, anointed, end quote, would get that benefit. He'd be a billionaire in no time. He wouldn't have to ask you for anything. How long are we going to be open fools? The spatial mind cannot be fooled by such nonsense. When you understand pressure and how it works, when you apply that knowledge to your reality and realize that it defines your reality because it is your reality, then you will have attained wisdom. You will be one of those, quote, firmly rooted in knowledge, end quote, those who can understand the Quran and all scripture. You will understand the universe. You will have a thorough knowledge of self. Until then, quote, and you will one day bear me witness, one day soon, end quote, you are ignorant. If you think you are educated, degreed, lettered, then you are an ass carrying books that your slave master wants you to be. You are still his slave. The Quran makes clear that only the Son of Man, quote, your Lord, end quote, will make the stated event manifest, and only when it is time for its manifestation. What is to be manifest? It states that there is a, quote, momentous event, end quote, but doesn't state what it is or what it does, only that it's a universal event in the heavens and the earth. As with the angel, only the Son of Man can break its seals. This event can only be identified, revealed, and explained by the Son of Man. The universe is in contraction mode, which means the energy that was used to spread out the heavens is returning to the earth a wave at a time. The earth, the true center of the universe, is the ultimate destination of each contracting energy wave. It's a universal contraction, quote, momentous in the heavens, end quote, which reaches the earth approximately every 60 years. It is, quote, momentous in the earth, end quote, because of the awesome energizing power of each energy wave. The last one occurred in the 60s, which rejuvenated the original people specifically, but all people generally. The next one is now due. The energy wave is first absorbed by the earth, which takes a while. The earth is first rejuvenated. The soil is energized. The atmosphere is energized. The oceans are energized. Suddenly, everyone is energized as the food is enriched, the oxygen is more abundant and enriched, and the water is pure, sweet, and enriched. Presently, we are suffering from energy deprivation. We have been for 6,000 years. What we call old age is not old age, it's energy deprivation. Our bodies require much more energy than is currently available, so our bodies adjust firstly by forcing us to be inactive for approximately 1/3 of each day. Our bodies are refreshed every 24 hours, but like a battery that only gets 2/3 the charge it needs to operate 24 hours will shut down after 16 hours while recharging. If it could get 100% recharge, then it would last for 24 hours. Secondly, not a full recharge, then our cells, organs, etc. are not being fully renewed, recharged, re-energized. So each day, the difference accumulates until the battery/body wears down and ultimately dies. The renewal, transformation. The earth will be transformed. You will witness a receding of the deserts. Those deserts did not exist 50,000 years ago. Some didn't even exist 6,000 years ago. You will witness a dramatic change in the weather and atmosphere to a lovely climate free of violent storms, adverse weather. You will witness an abundance of plant life with fruits growing to double, triple their current size, sweeter and more nutritious than you can imagine. The atmosphere will be intoxicating with the luscious smell of plants, much more intoxicating than one experienced in a florist shop. The water will experience a dramatic transformation. It will be sweet and refreshing, so much so that you would never even consider this world's soft drinks laden with sugar. The renewal, transformation. You will be transformed. This next wave will transform you overnight. You will be thoroughly energized. Your body will begin to regenerate. That which seems old will become new. Testosterone and estrogen levels will be restored to youthful levels. In effect, you will be restored to your teenage strength and appearance. This will happen to everyone. Every animal, every life form will be rejuvenated. Most, if not all animals, will return to vegetarian mode as the vegetation will be very nutritious. You will not need or want to sleep. Just think, that's just the beginning. Each additional wave, called Jubilees, will energize you even more. You will live youthful, healthy, strong, reproductive lives as long as you wish, never to see or experience that which is called old age. the hell of it. The energy wave, while energizing the planet, will also increase the pressure in/on the planet, so that anything that has a low pressure threshold will be crushed by the increased pressure. The KV was created in haste, meaning that they were created in tension and in a short period of time. They have a low threshold for pressure. It is and was tension that empowered them, the wind beneath their wings, the wind that unfurled their sails. The energy wave will nullify the tension that strengthened them. They will be energized and rejuvenated just as much as everyone else, but they will be in a crushed state in hell. With each energy wave, the pressure increases. The starting pressure here is 700, which causes the original people of the tribe of Shabazz here in America to start with an energy deficit of negative 200, while the devils, Yaqub's tribe, have an energy surplus of positive 400. The next energy wave increases the pressure to 800. The pressure threshold of the original people is 2700, while the pressure threshold of the devils is 900. The threshold is the point where the structure can no longer withstand the pressure and collapses. The devils have a weaker threshold of pressure because, being a stripped down version of us, they have a weaker structure. But in the time of low energy, the time of tension, their weaker structure requires less energy to maintain, giving them an energy advantage, an energy surplus. The energy surplus empowers them to rule over the energy deprived original people. The nature, which is just for demonstration of the original people here, is 900, meaning they have a more substantive nature than their devil counterparts, whose number is 300. Everything must balance. Everyone has the same amount of energy, which is the sum of their internal plus external energy. The internal is the complexity, the substance of their nature. The external is their outward reality, which some might characterize as luck. Since the original has substantial substance, which the starting energy level can't sustain, then he has a negative bounce or bad luck in every aspect of his life. Yaqub's devils having inferior quality requiring less energy realizes an energy surplus or good luck in all their affairs. As the presentation demonstrates, the status, the reality of both changes with each energy wave. The wave is nigh. When it is manifest, you had better be prepared for it. Your vessel better be solid enough to contain the energy. If you haven't used this time to harden your discipline, you may just explode. What do you think will happen to a weak person? His weaknesses will be magnified when energized. Whatever you are doing will be emphasized. Fornicating, you will fornicate even more. Drugging even more. If you are living righteously, it will be magnified. If you are living wickedly, it will be magnified. You will not be able to hide it or control it. If you haven't prepared yourself through discipline, then you will be unstable, like a car speeding with no steering wheel. The righteous will shine like stars. The wicked will become darker than dark. If you are registered, then you are in the Lamb's book of life. Don't be foolish and offend Suleiman so that he strikes your name out of it. The judgment. The judgment. If everyone could see and understand what the judgment is before the judgment, there would not be a need for a judgment. Even the most rigid, the hardest of hearts would melt with but a glimpse of the judgment. There are 5 aspects of the judgment. The first is the mercy. The second is the trial. The third is the judgment itself. The fourth is the sentence. And the fifth, the last, is the execution of the sentence. The mercy is the warning, which is the time of the messenger Elijah Muhammad. That is the time for whoever will to follow the guidance of the messenger, which will prepare them for the trial. Everyone goes through a trial to test your adherence, support, and faith in the messenger, to receive and act upon the warning, to test your worthiness to cross over into the hereafter. The trial is the period of testing your faith, knowledge, and adherence to the light provided by the warner, the messenger. The trial period determines if there will be a judgment, a time to correct, make right, a time to balance the scales of justice, a time for the oppressors to reconcile with the oppressed, time for oppressors to rectify their wrongs. The judgment is reserved for those who rejected the mercy and or failed the trial. Those who rejected the mercy of the warning rejected the messenger. Those who continued with their oppression and refused to repent. The judgment is reserved for the oppressors and oppressed alike. The oppressors who refuse to reconcile with those they have and are oppressing, and the oppressed who have and are rebelling against their own, those who have been corrupted by the oppressors. The judgment is about exclusion, not inclusion. The time to separate the chaff/tares from the wheat, the goat from the sheep. Those who enter into judgment will be as one driving full speed down a road and suddenly sees that the bridge has collapsed, but it's too late for the brakes. Too late, can't stop, can't turn around, certain destruction imminently ahead. You would never have gotten before the judge into judgment had you not been in error. There is only need for judgment when something is deemed to be corrupted and needs to be purified. Judgment is exclusive, not inclusive. The corruption needs to be identified and excised. The judges are the righteous that were your companions during the trial period, who you dealt with unjustly and abused. So now the books are being opened, the Gospels called the Injil, and the judgments proclaimed in excruciating detail. Who falls into what category? The sentence immediately follows the judgment. The sentence for those in error is always fire, the consuming fire and the smoldering fire. There is no fire that lasts for an eternity. This is about consequence, not insanity and or blind rage and revenge. The lucky ones are thrown into the consuming fire and quickly dispatched to ashes. But the unlucky ones, those who are unlucky enough to have offended Suleiman personally or his people, such as the British and especially the, quote, American devils, unquote, did for 400 years. For them is the slow but hot smoldering fire. It doesn't matter if they are family, children, mother, father, son, or daughter, if he finds you offensive, into the flames. This is the day of his wrath, and the question was asked, who will be able to stand? Answer, if he is offended by you, then you will have no standing with him. There will be nowhere for you to stand. You had the mercy, the trial, but you chose the judgment, so now taste what you have chose. A rebellious, ungrateful child is a devil. All devils are condemned, all, every one of them. All chaff and tares are sorted out and condemned. The chaff and tares are devils masquerading in black. The chaff and tares are the seed of the devils planted into the black soil. They will be sorted out, all of them, every one of them. If even one slipped through, it would take at least a century to weed it out. We see what happened to Arabia when the women took pity on the babies of the devils and hid them while their fathers were exiled to Europe. There was only a few babies, but now Arabia is nearly all white complexion and conflicted because of that few. Everyone favored the lighter, fair men and women over their darker people. So, 6,000 years later, you have a conflicted, light complexion Arabia who can't find peace with itself. Prophet Muhammad could not heal them. He never really understood the true nature of the problem, that many of the Arabs were/are devils who would never accept Islam as they are contrary. Suleiman understands the problem profoundly and cannot be deceived. We won't repeat the same mistake. Then there are the originals, the rebellious, the ungrateful, the hypocrites. You can't blame the devils for being devils, for making mischief and shedding blood. That's their nature. Yet if they benefited from that nature, they must pay the consequences for whatever benefit they received. That's mathematics, and no one, not even Suleiman, can defeat mathematics. After the devil's ungrateful children are the worst. Some say even worse than devils, as they at least had the nature to be correct, but chose not to. For them is a grievous chastisement. They rise up in disrespect and ungratefulness to the one who gave them life. There is no excuse in this life or the next, on this planet or any other. What excuse could they possibly give? If they have life in them and the ability to express themselves, they got that from their fathers. So they will take the gift that was given to them and use it against the one who gave it. They will be asked one question to which there is only one answer. How would you feel if your children did the same to you? No one will want to hear about any supposed extenuating circumstances, real or imagined. Even if a father was the worst you can imagine, you don't have to love him, but you damn well better respect him, because no matter what he is, was, or will be, if he was other than that, you would never have existed. They are such fools. They don't realize that when they despise and disrespect the Father, the source of their life, that they are questioning, no, denying the validity of their existence. That's the foundation of the controversy with the devils. We are their father. They came from our sperm. We made them, yet they proved ungrateful, disrespectful, hateful, murderous to us. They are our children. So now they must pay the price that all ungrateful children ultimately pay. Every ungrateful child meets they are doomed sooner or later, the later the worse, every ungrateful child. Quote, Allah loves not the ungrateful, unquote, which is another way to say the curse of Allah is upon the ungrateful. What is more unjust than a child who refuses to honor and respect their father, the father who gave him/her life? The mother didn't give them life. The egg is not alive. It's living material as any egg, but it is not alive. The father gives his seed to a woman as a farmer plants his seed in the ground. It's a temporary gift entrusted to the woman to nourish, protect, guide to maturity, returning the child to the father healthy, strong, and ready for wisdom. If she instead steals away with the fruit of the seed, devouring it and corrupting it, returning to the father bitter thorns, she will reap the unbridled wrath of the father with the entire righteous nation behind him. Two gross injustices, the ungrateful offspring, the fruit of the treacherous, lying, quote, unquote, mother. There is a special reward for such women, reserved especially for them.